I'm working on my 85 Camaro, the Z28. I was in the interior doing some work. I had to get into my gas tank and check the fuel sock. Anyway, long story short, the upholstery panels had to come out, and I noticed that these are the speaker covers, and they're pretty tattered. They're pretty worn and dirty. I mean, look at the original color compared to what the sun has done to them over 37 years. So I figured I'd recover them. And basically, you just peel off all this stuff. You know, it's glued to the back. A couple staples here and there. You just pry those off with a little flathead screwdriver. Headliner material came today. The nice delivery man left it in the box in the rain, but it was alright. The box was damp, but the material's fine. So this will be pretty straightforward. We just need to trace our pattern onto it with a permanent marker so we know what shape we're dealing with here, and just cut it out. Might even leave a little excess, it's no big deal. Okay, that one's good. Do this one. People often ask me how I got into doing all this car stuff. Well, when you don't have a bunch of money, you have to learn to do it yourself. Because you pay an upholstery shop to do this, it costs a fortune. And if you don't have a lot of money, but you want to restore your car, you learn how to do things. So, these little sail panels, this piece of material was like 30 bucks. And you could even do your sun visors. So that's pretty good. And once you tackle this, you realize, heck, you could do your head liner if it's sagging and whatnot, which I'm sure it is after 35, 37, 40 years, however old your F-body is. But yeah, anybody can do this stuff. That's why I'm making these videos today. Now, the originals had this weird mesh with a speaker hole cutout thing, a reinforcement, because in the original it was just a felt velour with no foam. So this kind of acts like the foam backing. Now it's just integrated. So I don't think we're going to reuse this. I mean, it may be there also to stabilize the wood cutout, but I think it'll be fine without it. So we want it to really adhere to the panel, so I'm going to just eliminate it. We need to spray the board with adhesive, and we need to spray the foam with adhesive. So. That should be plenty. Let it flash a little bit, and then you want to center it on your panel so you got it overlap top and bottom. Alright, and then work it on. That's looking pretty good. Then we're going to have to go on the back side. We're going to put some glue around the edges, and we're going to pull over the upholstery. You're going to want a staple gun handy with some shallow staples. I've got 1/4 inch. I don't know if they make 1/8 inch, but that would have been nice. I'm going to pull the sides first and tuck those up tight, and then put the end flaps up and staple them along the ends. There's the sides pulled on, stapled, a couple little staples here and there. Now we fold up the ends and staple. So that's pretty much it. You just staple it up, boom, done. You got a new sail panel. Stick it in your car. So the final thing you've got to do with these sail panels is poke the hole for your coat hook. So just go to the back with a nice fresh X-Acto blade and just cut your hole for your screw so that you know where it's got to go. Oh yeah, and on the staples, I wanted to say, make sure you kind of keep the gun back a little bit, because if you put it right up to the board and drive it in, you may end up with a little divot like that. You see, if you put it too tight to the board, if you're working with 1/4 inch. I don't know if they make an 1/8 inch staple. They must for upholstery use, but you can use these 1/4 as long as you just keep them off the board a little. It works out okay, otherwise you'll get a little divot. Just minor, and I guess there's probably a staple there, but it should be alright. This side doesn't have any, because I kept the staple further away from the board. Oh yeah, and I wanted to show you guys how the air cleaner turned out. I ended up stripping most of the paint off of the base too, because, you know, I'm OCD. And the whole key to paint job is getting good prep, so the more time you spend taking crud off, the better the paint job's going to be when you're done. It's got a nice hose. It's all clean, ready to go. This little guy goes here. I forgot to hook that up. And we're ready to have a smog check if I ever get around to registering it, doing all that. Gotta get some insurance and all that before it goes on the road. But that's the air cleaner. It turned out pretty good. I figure you gotta restore these parts and preserve them, because the car's getting to be almost 40 years old. And it is a muscle car, even though it was the 80s and kind of a sad era for muscle. It was kind of a flabby muscle. 180 horsepower, I don't know what it was. 160, 170 horsepower, 5 liter. Of course mine with the supercharger makes a little bit more, we would hope, and the methanol and the headers, and 3-inch exhaust, blah-diddy, blah-diddy, bunch of nonsense. But it's fun. Okay, be well.